Hey, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, then welcome. My name is Maddie, and today I'll be giving book recommendations for the fall and winter season. So, I don't know about you, but in the fall and winter seasons, I love reading pretty much fantasy and dark romance. Those are the main two genres that I love reading, and horror. Horror during October is so fun to read, and I've been reading quite a few horror books lately because we are in the month of October currently. And so, because I feel like fall and winter are such a great time to read dark romance and fantasy, I thought I would recommend some books in those genres. So, if you also are someone who loves to read books with darker themes or fantastical themes in the fall and winter time, I think you'll get something out of this video. Hopefully, I can give you some recommendations. So, I have these books split into two piles. One pile is of some horror books. The other pile is books that are more like dark romance or dark, like spicy romances. And so, if you're someone who doesn't like reading dark romance or spicy romance, I do have three books that I will recommend to you that are mainly just horror. So, let's get started, and I'll start with my horror kind of paranormal pile first. So, the first book I have is The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. I first read this book, I want to say 7 years ago. It was a while ago. I did reread this book this year, and I still loved it as much as I did the first time. It's a great book. So, the setting of this book takes place in this town where there is a myth that every June, every summer, these three witches who were previously drowned in the town's lake return on land, and their goal is to lure boys to their death and drown them. That is the basic premise of this book. I can't say anything else about it because this is one that you really have to go into blindly in order to take in the full experience. This one does have a major plot twist in it, which at first, when I first read this one, I didn't see it coming, which is really funny because I feel like it was kind of obvious, but it's still a really great plot twist. I love the setting of this book. It takes place on this really like dreary town, and so that's why I feel like this book is perfect to read during the fall and winter time because of the atmosphere of this book and the fact that we're also following witches in this one. So it makes for a very spooky read as well. It is so good. Really enjoyed it, and I definitely need more people to read it. Next, I have a book that I read last month and I really enjoyed it, and that is Play Nice by Rachel Harrison. This is a straight up horror book. And this was such an interesting one for me to read because I really don't read horror books often, like pure horror books. So this was a very new experience for me, but I ended up really enjoying this book. I did give it 4 stars. It was pretty good. So in this one, we are following our main character, Cleo. She is a influencer. She's a fashion influencer. And her world ends up turning upside down when she decides to renovate her childhood home that is rumored to be haunted. And it kind of turns out that she is having some experiences in this house while renovating it, and she comes across this entity that's making itself known. And while she's there, she is also unraveling the secrets that her mother hid from her when she was young, and unraveling the truth of who her mother is and all the family drama that she was not aware of before. So this one also deals with like family dysfunction as well. It's very interesting. And I loved our main character in this one. She just had so much personality. She was such a great character to follow. I really enjoyed her story, and I really like the fact that she comes across as someone who is very like upbeat, which I love about her, but her journey through this book is so sad, and because as she's unraveling the secrets of her past that she didn't know about, she is going through a lot. And so she's a very upbeat and positive character, but we get to see a different side of her where she's dealing with all these hard truths, and that really brings her down. And so she has to like make it through and deal with what she's learning. It's a really good book. I actually ended up purchasing just recently another book by this author, which is called Black Sheep. this author pretty much specializes in horror, so I assume that one is also a horror book. And so I really want to read that book really soon while we're still in the fall winter season, because I feel like this is the perfect time to read any book by this author. So I'm really excited to check out more books from her. Next, I have a book that I've been talking about quite a lot, and that is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. In this one, we are following vampires, and I feel like you just gotta read at least one vampire book during the fall and winter season. How could you not? It's just such a perfect time to read a book about vampires. And so, if you want to read a book about vampires, I think you should read this one. In this one, we're following three main characters. They are all girls, and they all live in different timelines, but their stories all interconnect at the end, which is so cool. And we witness their journey becoming vampires. Each of them are turned, and each of them handle becoming a vampire differently. It's a really, really great book, and I really enjoyed watching how these three girls' stories interconnected at the end. There's so much great character development in this book. I feel like this one is so spooky and atmospheric. It's just a great one. This one actually came out during the summer, but I feel like you just got to read it during the fall. It's a perfect one. All right, so now I'm going to be talking about more like dark romance and like spicy dark romance. So if that's a genre that you're into, please feel free to continue watching. So let's get into it. Next, I have Too Late by Colleen Hoover. This is definitely Colleen Hoover's darkest book, and that's why I feel like it's a great one to read during the spooky season. It is dark, and it is also very hard hitting, so be aware of triggers before you go into this one. Look them up, but it is a really, really great dark romance. Our main character Sloane is in a relationship that is not good for her. She's in a very abusive relationship, and she feels kind of stuck in it. At the same time, she's falling in love with this other guy who treats her right, and so that's kind of like the basic scenario of this one. And I read this one so long ago, but I think what I remember is I think her boyfriend like keeps her captive. And so she's in a situation where she can't even be with the one she actually wants to be with. Yeah, I can't remember if he keeps her captive. I'm like trying to read the synopsis, but it doesn't give away much. So I'm going to leave it at that. Just know that it is definitely a very, very dark book, but it is really good. Of course, it's Colleen Hoover, and I love all of her books. I think pretty much everything she writes is like top tier. So of course this is a great one. Next I have Silver Elite by Danny Francis. This is another book that I read this year that I absolutely loved. This is a very controversial book. There's a lot of people who did not like it, but I am one of those that did. I'm part of that group that really, really liked this book. So if it all sounds like something you'd be into, please do pick it up. So let's talk about what it's about. This one, it's described as a dystopian. I use that term kind of loosely because I feel like this one is more of a romantasy than it is a dystopian, but it has been marketed as a dystopian. I feel like the marketing for this book was really not accurate, and it's kind of what led to a lot of bad reviews of this book because it's not what a lot of people expected. If you go into this book with the knowledge that it's more of a romantasy, I think you'll like it more. If you are a fan of romantasy, I think you'll like this one. If you're a fan of dystopian and you're expecting dystopian from this one, I wouldn't read it. Just let you know. So this one takes place in this world where a group of people have been afflicted with this virus that has caused them to have supernatural powers, and it causes them to be able to read minds and have various forms of mind controlling abilities. Our main character, who is Ren, she's a part of society that has mind controlling abilities. She gets herself into a situation where she has to be a part of the army of this world, and their goal is to eradicate all the people with mind controlling abilities who are called the Modified. And so none of the other soldiers know that she is actually one of the Modified, and so she has to keep that a secret. And in the meantime, she's kind of falling for the general of the army, and so he doesn't know who she actually is, and so there's just a lot of tension, there's a lot of secrets. Also a really, really great romance as well. There was just a lot of things that I loved about this book. I loved the world. I loved kind of like the politics. I also absolutely loved the romance. I thought it was really sweet and just really well developed. Because this one, I would categorize it as a fantasy. I think it's a good one to read during the fall and winter time. Definitely read it. Give it a chance. I know it's there's a lot of controversial stuff about this one that has been said, but I really believe that it's really good. So if you trust my recommendations, give it a try. I'd really recommend it. Next, I have Credence by Penelope Douglas. I think this one is so perfect to read during the winter time specifically because this book takes place in Colorado in the winter where our characters get stuck in a snowstorm. And so they have to stay inside in their house. They can't go anywhere because they are snowed in. And our main character in this one her name is Tiernan. Her parents have just recently died. And because she's still technically a minor, she's like 17, she can't live on her own. And so her father's estranged stepbrother ends up calling her and asking her if she would like to live with him and his two sons in Colorado. And so she takes him up on his offer because she really doesn't have anywhere else to go. While she's there, she does end up forming romantic relationships with each of the guys there. So this one is definitely very, very, very taboo. For one, these are her step cousins and step uncle, and her step uncle has quite a big age gap compared to her. So yeah, this one very, very taboo, but so good. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. There was a lot of things that I just really loved about this one. It was so angsty, and there was just so much drama. And I don't know. I'm just a sucker for books with that much drama and like family drama, relationship drama. There's just so much tension. It's just so freaking great. Is it kind of trashy based on what it's about? Yes, but it's so entertaining. I just have to admit that. If you love trashy books, if you love controversial books, give this one a try. It is just so great. I was just thoroughly entertained by this one. Next, I have pretty much a classic dark romance book, and that is Haunting Adeline by H.T. Carlton. If you have been anywhere in the dark romance space, you've probably heard this one. It's probably one of the most popular dark romance books out there. I read it this year and I really, really loved it. I was kind of beating myself up for putting it off for so long. So in this one, we're following our main character, who is Adeline, and she recently inherited her grandma's manor. While she's living there, she notices that there's someone outside watching her, and she's a little freaked out about it. But this man named Zaid, who has been watching her, he eventually confronts her, and they have a very interesting first encounter. And Zaid is actually a vigilante. He helps human trafficking victims get out of their situation. So he's a interesting character because what he does is good, but there's a lot of things that he does that is not so great, like stalking Adeline and scaring her. That is not great. He's just a very morally gray character. He's so interesting though because of that. And so Adeline ends up forming this relationship with him, and she gets involved in his whole world with taking down human traffickers. It's a very it's a very crazy synopsis now that I explain it, but it's really, really good. I really love the character development in this book. I think that Adeline goes through so much development. She is a completely different person at the end of the series. It is like amazing. She's been through so much. We get to watch her journey becoming so much of a stronger person, and I love that. She has her morals at the beginning of this book, but those morals kind of start to fall apart while she's with Zaid. And you would think, that kind of makes her a bad person, but I think that just makes her really interesting. I just love her development and how she starts to really accept Zaid's lifestyle and just kind of like goes with it. She's just a great character. So if you love dark romance and if you haven't read this book yet, you gotta get on it. It's really good. Next, I have a book that I wish I had read during the fall and winter time because it just has that vibe. It is the ultimate spooky vibes, and that is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. I read this one in May, so I read it during the springtime, but you have to read this book now during the fall and winter time because it is just the perfect book to read during this season. So this one is a dark fantasy, and our main character Ophelia is a necromancer, and so she is taking up her family's necromancing business, and she also has powers that fall into the necromancy area. And there's this game happening in New Orleans where she lives called Phantasma, and the premise of Phantasma is it's modeled after the 9 circles of hell. Each trial is modeled after the 9 circles, and if you make it through all these trials and survive at the end, then you are granted a wish. And so Ophelia's sister ends up entering Phantasma, and Ophelia initially was not going to have any part of it, but because her sister got involved in it and she wants to protect her sister, and because Phantasma is such a dangerous game because you could die, she enters Phantasma in order to find her sister. And she ends up teaming up with this phantom named Blackwell, who is stuck in the world of Phantasma and can't get out of it because of one deal he made a long time ago. And he makes a deal with Ophelia that he will help her find her sister if she helps him escape the game of Phantasma. And so they make this deal, but they also start to have feelings for each other. And so there's also a romance between them. I loved everything about this book. I loved the spooky atmosphere. I loved the romance. The romance in this one was so good. Blackwell is so swoon worthy. Oh my god. He won me over instantly. He's just like such a gentleman, and he just has that very alluring personality. He reminds me a lot of Rhysand from A Court of Thorns and Roses. He has the same exact personality as him, which is pretty much the Shadow Daddy personality, just like that mysterious, like very just alluring personality. He's so great. And I really loved Ophelia too. She is a character who has OCD. And I feel like, not that I have OCD, but I think that disorder was represented really well in this book. So if that's something that you can relate to, I think you would really like this character. Definitely one you just have to read during the season. Please, please do. More people need to read this. It is so, so good. I loved it so much. All right, and the last book that I'm going to recommend is Kiss of the Basilisk by Lindsay Straube. Whew, where do I start with this book? How do I explain this one? This one is a romantasy, but be warned that it is one of the spiciest books that I have ever read, if not the spiciest book that I have ever read. Oh my god, this one is up there with the heat factor, but it is so flipping good. So the purpose of this one, we are following our main character, Tem, and she enters this competition where she has to compete with a prince who is named Leo's hand in marriage, and she has to compete with these other girls and win him over. But Leo picks his wife based on how sexually compatible he'll be with them. He doesn't really choose them based on who they are, but rather how good he thinks they'd be in bed. The girls have to train to be sexually compatible with Leo, and so there are these basilisks in this world, and the basilisks are very skilled with seduction. And so there are a few basilisks who train these girls on how to be compatibly intimate with the prince. And so Tim ends up pairing up with Caspin, who is a basilisk, and he is to train her to be compatible with Leo, but they start to really blur the lines between teacher and student because their chemistry is off the charts. Like, yeah, he's training her on how to have sex, but they're actually like legitimately having great sex together. And so Tim is really battling with that because the goal is to be with Leo. She needs to be with him because she comes from a poor background, and so becoming a princess would do a great deal of good things for her. But she's kind of falling for Caspin at the same time. But also at the same time, she is growing feelings for Leo. And so this one actually does have a legitimate love triangle in it, which I actually really loved. It's a very, very fascinating book. Yes, this one is spicy. It is hella spicy, but what I appreciate about this one is that at the same time, it still has a great story. Like, it's not just a smutty book. There is a really great story in this one as well that I really enjoyed. This is the first one in a series, and I think the next book comes out next month, which I'm so excited for. I have it pre-ordered, and I need it in my hands right now. I love this one. I think I gave it 4 stars because I had like one minor issue with it that was kind of like a continuity issue, but other than that, it was so, so great. If this sounds like something you'd like, read it. Of course, this book is not for everyone, so be aware. If you do not like spicy books, do not pick this one up because it will take you off guard. But if you're into that, it's a great one. All right, those are all of my book recommendations for the fall and winter season. So yeah, I hope you took something away from this video. I hope I was able to recommend a book to you. I am continuing to read a lot more like darker books this season. I'm just so in that mood right now where all I want to read is either like dark romance or horror books. Right now, I'm actually reading It by Stephen King, and it is such a vibe. It is like the perfect book to read during October, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So, yeah, I've just been picking up a lot of horror books lately because that's what I'm into at the moment. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like this video. Also, subscribe if you haven't yet. I would love to have you here, and I'll be back with my next one next Sunday. Bye!